Hey, thanks again for joining me. I'm your host, Derek Lane. Another edition of the Fast Lane podcast for your success. And let's jump into this. Let's talk about arguing. I think a lot of people do it and they regret it. I know that the times that I have, I've regretted it. You really don't resolve anything with an argument, do you? But why do we do it? Well, it's an opinion that you're defending. It's your position that you're defending. So you feel that you really want to dig in your heels and defend yourself and defend your motivation, your rights, whatever it is. But typically, we get too emotional involved, and it becomes very damaging in a lot of ways. So now what could have been perceived as a debate is now a full-blown argument or fight. And often what happens is neither side wins. So I decided that we should really talk about this, because what arguing does is it reinforces a conflict. Okay, people have problems, and the more that they argue for their side, the less they're going to be willing to look at the other side and to take the other person's point as reasonable, objective. It's now become more concrete more than ever once an argument starts. So avoid arguments. Also, as I said, that it becomes very emotional. Okay, so a person's feelings are their feelings. You can't just ask someone to turn off their feelings. But what you can do is try to empathize with a person. And truly, not just lip service. Oh, I empathize with the way you feel, and then blah, 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 I'm back to my argument. Well, that didn't do anything. Sometimes when you empathize with someone, you need to basically reverberate their words into your language. That way, consciously or subconsciously, they understand that their message is getting across to you. And then they're more receptive to listen to you because you've listened to them. Now you're turning this thing back into a debate. And, when you debate people, I've always said you should do, a straw man technique, third person perspective. So if I have a difference with you and I don't want to directly disrupt what you're saying or how you're feeling, you can say, what if someone were to ask you to define what you're saying? What if someone were to ask you about this? See, what you're doing is creating a straw man. It's not me, it's someone else. What if someone, or some people have said, I've heard others talk about this, that, and the other. So you're taking it away from you. You're putting it into an arbitrary who knows who. So that is a technique you can use if you find yourself debating. What if someone else were to ask you this? And then when you're trying to convince someone, there's an old saying, a man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. They may agree with you, okay, I get it. But then you didn't change their mind. And what you're doing is asking someone that has deep beliefs, that has deep principles on a subject or matter, to just change because you asked them to. And that's not going to happen. That's why leading by example, showing people, this is the way that I do it. I appreciate the way you do it. I appreciate your take on the matter. This is me. And, we've all learned the phrase, let's agree to disagree. Okay, I can't change your mind, you can't change mine. So let's agree that we're going to disagree. We can make points, we can later, pick up sidebars, but for now, let's agree to disagree. So sometimes it's not about convincing someone. It's about not arguing. And then when you argue about the past is gone. You can't change it. It is what it is. whatever happened, happened. And if you're harboring ill feelings over something, that may be a wrong deed, miscommunicated issue, then you've got to get through that. You've got to push past it and appreciate that, you're still here, you're still living, and whatever that was back then, not now. Keep throwing it up and reliving it. Again, there's no reason to harbor ill feelings to anyone else or yourself. And sometimes it's irreparable harm. And you know that you need to move on, maybe from that person, definitely from that situation. But it's up to you to use your intellect to understand that not every situation is in your control. You can't master every aspect of your life when there's other people in your life. All you can do is master the things that you control. If you're not in control of it, then don't even try to harness it. You're going to spin your wheels. You're going to be spending unwise time trying to control things that are beyond your control. Control the things that are in your control. Your thoughts, your feelings, your business, your flow, your vibration. Control those things. And when you start to control those things in the harmonious manner that you're capable of, then you have fewer and fewer arguments. You have fewer and fewer disagreements because you've brought flow and positivity into your life. And that's the way that you live your life now. So when you find yourself engaged into an argument, understand that there's something inherently negative about arguing. Now, there are times when an argument, or as I'd rather call it a debate, is more spirited, and you learn from it. You learn from things when someone, maybe things that you hadn't considered, but that's only if you keep an open mind. And someone says, well, have you ever considered this? And instead of digging your heels in and going, no, I have not, and I don't want to, because I'm right. Well, instead, you may say, I haven't considered that. Tell me more. Maybe I will learn something that I did not know. And maybe the argument now has brought you a little bit more clarity. And you say, wow, I wished I would have known that prior to this debate. We wouldn't even have this debate. So sometimes a debate, again, it can be spirited and it can lead you into a more, agreeable term. So again, you put on your opponent's shoes and you try to open your mind and you go, all right, listen, tell me what's going on. Tell me your situation and your motives, and keep an open mind, and heck, you might just learn something. That kind of goes back to the saying, I prefer truth over being right. Because if all I want to do is just be right, it's going to be an uphill battle. You're going to expend a lot of energy just trying to prove your point. And we're all humans. You may have long ago understood a point to be one way when it's not. It's another way. And then when that gets challenged, you feel like everything that I've known was wrong. Well, now's a chance for you to grow. Now's a chance for you to be more enlightened and to understand, I see where, the error of my way. I see where, I could have understood this differently. So there again, in some ways, those small little debates, they can be enlightenment if you keep an open mind to them. Just understand that people's imperfections are normal. It's a normal feeling to to argue. It's a normal feeling to defend yourself, to not be always the one that's getting trashed. But I think if you're listening to this podcast, that's not you anyway. But just don't be the one trashing someone. You're designed to be a mentor. You're designed to help people, give people a hand up, and to show people there is a better way by all of the things that your knowledge, and help people become more learned. So never take anything personal, unless they're obviously being hurtful by nature and insulting. And that leads me to my next point. Arguing often leads to insults because it's a mechanism. If you can't quite articulate the way that you feel, if you can't quite articulate your point of view, then it's natural to back up and start hurling insults. You don't get it because you're stupid. Well, obviously that's an insult. Should never do that. It's okay to take a breath. Sometimes you have to process things. And to say, and a good way to do that would be to repeat someone's point. Okay, well, let me understand what you just said. You said this. Is that correct? So it allows you to start processing. It allows you, when you say it back to yourself, it allows your processing to understand it better, not hearing it from someone else and then trying to break it down. Now you've processed it. And it also allows the other person to understand that, yes, you heard them. Yes, that is what I said. And they start to appreciate that you've taken a moment to step back and to consider what they've said. So it's not just that, opposite ends of the magnet, just they're just not going to go together. Okay? So being able to process what the other person says and not just having that moment where it feels like when someone's speaking to you, you just can't wait for them to shut up so you can get your point across. So when they take a break from their point and what they're saying, you jump right in. And it tells the person subconsciously, you didn't even hear a word I said. You didn't even consider a word I said because you're just waiting for this break so you can jump right in. So that's why it's always important for feedback. I understand what you feel and how you feel. I understand your position. And it is the position of A, B, and C. So it makes the other person understand a little clearer that you understand a little clearer. And there's absolutely no room for insults. And then if you're the one being insulted, then you need to, politely just, express that, you're not comfortable, being maliciously attacked through, hateful words in a hateful manner, and that perhaps this debate should be taken up at a later time when maybe we're a little bit more rational and calm. So there are some ways to do that. But always draw a conclusion when you're in a mindset of a debate or an argument. What is the outcome? What do you want to do? Understand what you want to achieve when you're having a debate with someone. Is it that you've got to get your point across no matter what? And you want that person to accept your point of view no matter what? Well, that may not happen, and it probably won't happen. Understand that it's an opportunity for you to express another way of someone to consider a situation. It's another way for you to express